Welcome everyone. The Bhagavad Gita. You are God. No, seriously. Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra gyaro jnanam yat taj jnanam matam mama. Know me as the knower of the field in all fields, O Bharata. The knowledge of the field and the knowledge of its knower is what I consider true knowledge. What is the Gita actually saying in this shloka? Essentially, that God Himself is the soul of all beings, that there is really no difference between your soul and the soul of the universe or the universal soul. In fact, there is a Gita prayer shloka that everyone who wants to study the Gita recites before they begin reading. The prayer says that the Gita contains the essence of all the great wisdom of the Upanishads, which are ancient Sanskrit texts that the Hindus believe were divine revelations. One of the Mahavakyas or grand pronouncements of the Upanishads has just three words: Tat Tvam Asi. You are that. The you in the statement refers to whoever is being spoken to. The that refers to the Supreme Soul. There is no room for misunderstanding here or conflicting opinions. The statement is as straightforward and as unequivocal as it can get. You are that. You are the Supreme Soul. It is this great wisdom that the Gita reiterates in this shloka. But how can a man, even if he is big and burly and 7 feet tall, be the same as God? How can God, who has the sun and moon as his eyes, fit into the limits of a human body? For the simple reason that we are no longer talking about the physical. How big something is, what it contains, what it looks like. We are talking about the basic core essence of something once the physical is stripped away. For instance, if someone said a light bulb was actually no different from a treadmill, you would recommend that he get himself to a doctor pronto. But that is because you're thinking of the physical characteristics of each. A light bulb is small, gives off light that helps you see in the dark, shatters when it is dropped, and so on. While a treadmill is huge, is a good way to get exercise while watching TV, is usually used as a towel stand at home, and so on. Now let's say we stripped away the physical and got to the essence of the two objects in our example. We would instantly see that the essence of both, the life force of both, the reason why a light bulb shines and a treadmill functions are the same. And its name is electricity. Similarly, a notebook is the same as a dining table, for they are both essentially wood. A brick wall is the same as a china teacup, for they are both essentially mud. A blonde, blue-eyed cheerleader is the same as a hippopotamus wallowing in an African swamp, for they are both essentially bones and muscles. Or if you break it down further, because they are both essentially carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus and sulfur. And it is in that sense that the you are God statement works. From the you, strip away the physical body, the mind, the senses, the ego, and the awareness, leaving just your essence, the life force that makes you possible. From the universe around you, strip away everything that can be seen, heard, smelled, tasted, touched, understood, felt, and imagined. Yes, That means even space, a concept which you can imagine, is gone. What is left is that, the essence of the universe, the life force that makes the universe possible, which is often called God. How do you define something that is by its very nature undefinable? How do you describe something that is not like anything you have seen, heard, smelled, tasted, touched, felt, thought about, or even imagined? How do you explain the concept of God, Aka Supreme Soul, Aka Brahman? The authors of the Vedas, the ancient Hindu texts struggle with that for a very long time. Usually, when we describe something to someone who hasn't seen it, we rely on comparison to other familiar things to build a picture in our listener's mind. Fuchsia is a deep pink, we might say, mixed with the tiniest bit of purple. Or, eating a rasgulla is like eating a sweet, milky sponge. Or, Neymar's game is a lot like Pele's. But when our mind cannot come up with a suitable comparison immediately, we use another technique, negation. We describe something not by explaining what it is, but what it is not. Like that fabric is a little rough, but not as rough as khadi, and not even as rough as raw silk or even linen, but it isn't as soft as cotton either. The Vedic scholars also found the negation technique useful to describe God, who in their opinion was the indescribable, incomparable, and unimaginable one. They called this technique neti. Neti. Not this, not this. Neither this, nor that. He is not earth, they said, nor fire, wind, water, or space. He is not what you see or hear. He is not what you can imagine. He is not pain. He is not pleasure. He is neither wholly inside you nor wholly outside you, and so on. They also describe the soul this way. It is not the senses, not the mind, not the intellect, not awareness, and so on. The good part about this negation technique is that whatever it may look and feel like at first, it is not taking you further away from the truth. In fact, it is doing the exact opposite. Every time you figure out what something is not, you can cross that one off your list of possibilities. As your list gets shorter and shorter, you get closer and closer to nailing what it really is. It is sort of like how doctors work or detectives. They get to the truth. What is causing the headache? Who committed the crime? By a process of elimination. Getting to the bottom of the truth about God is much, much harder. But the process is the same. Well, quite complicated. But well, we'll get there. Thank you so much for listening. Do share and subscribe.